Bismillah Rahman Rahim. This is subject of child development and lecture number 17. Today our topic is intellectual characteristics of learner. The outlines of the lectures are, first of all, introduction about the main topic, then what is meant by learning, then learning characteristics, then stages of learning for learners, and then explanation. First of all, what is learning? Learning refers to the acquisition of knowledge or skills through study, experience, or being taught. Moreover, we can say that learning is the process of acquiring new understanding, knowledge, behaviors, skills, values, attitudes, and preferences. So that's why this is also the ability to learn is possessed by humans, animals, and some machines. So there is also evidence for some kind of learning in certain plants. So learning is the process of acquiring new understanding, knowledge, behavior, skill, values, attitudes, and preferences. So this is what that we can define or we can explain about learning. Learning is the act of acquiring new or modifying and reinforcing existing knowledge, behavior, skills, values, or preferences, and may involve synthesizing different types of information. Some learning is immediate, induced by a single event, for example, being burned by a hot stove. But much skills and knowledge accumulate from repeated experiences. The changes induced by learning often last a lifetime, and it is hard to distinguish learned material that seems to be lost from that which we cannot be retrieved. Where the human is concerned, so human learning starts at birth. It might even start before and continues until death as a consequence of ongoing interactions, and that interactions may be between people and their environment. So the nature and processes involved in learning, and those are studied in many fields including educational psychology, neuropsychology, experimental psychology, and pedagogy. So research in such fields has led to the identification of various sorts of learning. For example, learning may occur as a result of habituation or classical conditioning, operant conditioning, or as a result of more complex activities such as play, seen only in relatively intelligent animals. So learning may occur consciously or without conscious awareness. So learning that an aversive events can't be avoided nor escaped may result in a condition, and that is called learned helplessness. So there is evidence for human behavioral learning apparently in which habituation has been observed and early as 32 weeks into gestation, indicating that the central nervous system is sufficiently developed and primed for learning and memory to occur very early on in development. Humans, animals, and plants have the ability to learn also. So there are some of the following: nature and characteristics of learning. And what are those? Learning is unitary. Learning is individual. Learning is social. Learning is self-active. Learning is purposive. Learning is creative. and learning is transferable. Remember that if we again explain learning, so remember that this is a process that leads to change when occurs as a result of experience and increases the potential for improved performance and future learning. So the change in the learner may happen at the level of knowledge, attitude, or behavior. Learning involves far more than thinking. It involves the whole personality, like senses, feelings, intuitions, beliefs, values, and will. So learning occurs when we are able to what? Gain a mental or physical grasp of the subject, make sense of a subject, even or feeling by interpreting it into our own words or actions. So in simple words, we can give some examples like learning is a student understanding and remembering that they have been taught. First of all, we see that what is learning as a unitary. It means that the learner responds as a whole person in a unified way to the whole situation of learning. And normally we have seen that during the learning process, a student has to sit in the classrooms for 8 or 8:30 to 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. So he or she responds intellectually, emotionally, physically, and spiritually simultaneously. When teacher asks questions to the students, then students always give their responses into different ways. That may be intellectual, that may be emotional, that may be physical, and that may be spiritual as well. So the individual learner reacts to the whole learning situations rather than to single situations in a unified way. So learner reacts in a different way because during the whole learning situations, he has to face many types of situations, but he has to react in a unified way. The total intellectual, emotional, physical, social, and spiritual processes are wholly coordinated towards the achievement of goals. We all know that when a teacher teaches the students, then his or her duty is to develop the students in three aspects. As per Bloom taxonomy, the three aspects are cognitive domain, affective domain, and psychomotor domain. So a teacher has to look on these three aspects due to which they try to coordinate with the different activities for achieving some goals. Those have been set for their students. The next one is learning is individual. Each learner differs from each other, and hence the teaching learning situation is approached differently by each learner and with different goal and different levels of result achievements. We are better aware about the students' achievements in different disciplines. That's why we see that there are different departments at higher level in university. So every student that they have their own goals. So accordingly, their way of learning is different. So that's why teaching must face the different situations as identified by the learners, because they have to learn many things in a different ways. The factor influencing at the individuals are many, such as hereditary, home environment, religious background, educational opportunity, financial soundness, health, work experience, and environmental factors, including the learner's ability. This is also important that normally the learners take admission as they have their backgrounds. If they have their religious backgrounds, then the most probability is that they may go to take admission in Islamic studies department. And if their parents or their family is related to other field, then the inclination of that student may be toward the other disciplines. That may be due to the financial resources, that may be due to the work experience of their family, and also the environmental factors may be there. The other aspect is learning is social. How do we say that this is a social process? We know that learning occurs in response to the environment in which there are other individuals. So that's why learning is social. We normally see that in a classroom, students from different backgrounds are sitting in the classrooms, and they are definitely going to interact with one another. They have their own way of life. They have their different families. They have their different family backgrounds. They have the different regions. So that's why when they interact in a classrooms for 5 to 6 hours, then they learn many things from that environment. So learning is social as it takes place in the social environment of the individuals. Social maturity takes place with the opportunity and develops into actual achievements. Now in the classrooms, normally, although the students belongs to the different areas and from the different family backgrounds or educational backgrounds or whatever we can say that our students may have, but in a classrooms, always the students have the same goal. If the students of psychology, they are sitting in the class, so it means their goal is to get the degree of BS or MSc psychology. So same in the other disciplines, the students sitting in one class, that they may have one goal. So they have one goals, but they have different factors which are observing or which is faced by the students. So that's why we can say that learning is a social. Now learning is self-active. How can we define it that learning is a self-active? An individual learns through his own reactions to situations. Whenever a learner interacts with its environment, then he or she learns that how he or she has to react in a specific way. So the learning is a personal process. So each person develops his own habits of learning because they have to interact with the environment. So that's why they adopt their own ways. The teacher can set a pattern for the student to imitate learning processes, and the intellect is perfected not by knowledge but by activity. Teacher only set active patterns, that how the students has to react in a particular situations, and then this is dependent on the students that how he or she has to react. Learning is a process of self-activity, self-directions, and self-realization of an individual's highest potentialities. Depending on the potentialities of the students, so learning is the process of self-activity, means that whenever the students will perform by their own, then they will learn that what are its benefits and what are its disadvantages. So whatever they will adopt, so this would be their self-direction, and in that direction they will learn that to which way they are going to. So the various forms of self-activity are listening, visualizing, memorizing, reasoning, judgment, and thinking. So the self activity guided by the teacher becomes an effective activity. This is very important, that when a student by self involve themselves into such activities, then in real sense they get the real experience of life, a real experience of that thing, and then they understand that how the things are to be listened, how to visualize, and how to memorize, how to reason, how to judge. So this is totally dependent on the student's self spark. The next is learning is purposive. Always remember that learning must be a purposive. Learning is directed towards a goals, and goals are determined by motives and incentives. Motives take a variety of forms like energy, arousing activity, and incentives are normally we give in physical things which are being offered to the students for achieving or on achieving on certain goals or their targets. Learning experiences become meaningful when they are related to the individual's interest, when involved in his living or purpose of life. So learning that's way becomes meaningful when the things are related to the individual interest. Individuals, if they are taking interest in certain things and you are also giving that thing to the students, then this would be more purposive and this would be more beneficial for those students. Thus, learning enables an individuals to make meaningful adjustment in life and set goals, make more meaningful problem solving, and result in satisfying social relationships. So this is the reasons that due to the learning, individuals become meaningful and they adjust their life accordingly as per their goals, and that's why their life become more meaningful, and the problems also becomes more meaningful for those, because they know that after solving this they would get some a purposeful, a meaningful solutions of that problem. Goal settings comprises both momentary and long term goals. So remember that always the goal setting should be in a proper and befitting manner. Then there is a short term goals. This refers to the specific task at hand, interlocking and overlapping the immediate goal into goal systems, thus establishing a series of progressive goals. Through a progressive goal setting, the learner's process itself becomes the motivation for more learning, and goals are placed on increasingly matured level. Learning is also influenced by the intentions or will to learn, as man has a will and can choose the action he wishes to take. Learning is always depend upon the learner's intentions. If a student want to gain something or want to learn something, then depending on their interest, the things are being learned. The actions that an individual decides to take is determined by his concept of whether that action is good or some sort. So the selection of goal depends on many factors. The factors include those factors may be the religion factor, maybe the philosophy of his own mental level, or learning includes a progressive organizing and reorganizing of educative experiences. Learning is also a gradual or developmental process. So learning experiences grow out of the past and present experiences through self-evidence. Now, learning is also a creative. How? That this is related to the means human learning is related to both selective and creative. So, teaching involves mind activity on the part of learner and intellectual guidance on the part of teachers. Because whatever the teacher will guide, the student will act accordingly. The learner is primary force and the teacher is secondary force. So, learning is a process of personal choice making. The learner has the power to vary her responses to the demand of the situations and to change responses at will, and thus creates a new forms of response. Learning is also transferable. How? The transfer refers to the application of knowledge, skills gained in one context to affect another situations. The factors that influence the amount and permanency of learning are as follows, like intellectual ability, background experience of the learner, the explicitness of and definiteness of goals, a relationship between the activities of the learner and the goals, the wholeheartedness of the learner's effort. And transfer depends on understanding. Also, it depends on the discovery of essential relationships and applied deliberately to the solution of practical problems. So, teachers should provide opportunity for problem solving for the applications of principles to the solution of problems. Now, there are some stages of learning, like cognitive stages there, understanding the nature and goal of activity, and initial attempts are there, and associative stage is there, and mastering of skill and timing. Stages of learning also involves fewer and more consistent errors. Autonomous stage is there, well coordinated and effortless activity, few errors and automatic. So this is all about this lecture. For being with me, take care. Allah Hafiz.